How's it going, YouTube? You can hear me. That used to be a problem. Now it's not. Now I'll tell you why. Alright, so what was the issue I just showed you there with that repair job? What had happened is, if you saw my video from a couple weeks ago when I was in Missouri and one of my headlights went out, I initially had thought it was a failed LED lamp. Turns out it was not a failed LED lamp because the halogen lamp that I replaced it with, one of my spares, worked just fine. Then I broke the LED like a moron. Oh well, stuff happens. I bobbled it, it scraped. Very sad. Anyway, so yesterday I'm in Indiana, headed down south towards Tennessee. No, I'm headed towards southern Kentucky to deliver a load, and it's getting towards dusk. I go to hit my lights, so running lights come on just fine. I go to engage the headlights, and my dash throws me the warning immediately: low beam headlamp fault. And I had a feeling it was going to be the same one that I had the issue with in Missouri. I stop at a rest area, take a look at it. Sure enough, it is. So I open up the hood, I go in there to the headlamp area to check it out and see what I can do about it. If I can do anything, check the headlamp's still fine. Even though it was a halogen, I thought maybe the bulb had broken. I was hoping it was gonna be the bulb that broke, but no, the bulb was fine. Thought it was the wiring of the headlamp unit itself, because it's an aftermarket unit from United Pacific, a pair of them that replaced the original xenon-based PACCAR headlamp units that came with the truck almost a year ago. I did that last July because I hated the xenon headlamps, didn't like how dim they were in my opinion, didn't like how costly the xenon lamps were, $90 a piece, and I wasn't pleased with how they threw light. I wanted LED. I also wanted to be able to change those out to halogen lamps if I really felt I wanted the extra heat to keep ice off of the headlamps themselves. So I bought new ones that look a heck of a lot nicer. They're blacked out interiors with the proper, reflective zones for the headlamps, and then the turn signals. So good to go there. Now I'm hoping it's not the headlamp unit itself that's gone bad, because I can see in there, I see the board. I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is made in China, it's probably cheap. I'm hoping to God that this is not having a problem that I have to replace now. This whole unit, it's gonna be $400. Gotta wait for shipping, all this stuff. Now I can't drive until at night until I get this replaced. It's a big deal. So I'm going to play with the connector. Okay, maybe there's an issue with the connector between the wiring harness and the headlamp itself. I try to pull it apart, and it's not coming apart. I'm trying to avoid breaking anything because I haven't taken apart any of the shrouding material or panels to actually get easier access to the headlamp unit itself. I'm trying to do it while it's still kind of encased, because I didn't want to tear the whole truck apart for what might have been maybe a simple job. It's not coming apart. Turns out that was a blessing in disguise, because as I'm getting frustrated and trying to figure out, okay, where could this issue be, I look at the master wiring harness connection between the tractor and the hood itself, and I notice a spot of abrasion where the wiring harness had come loose and it had actually been rubbing against part of the lower steel frame of the tractor at the front underneath the radiator. And it had actually abraded enough where it had gotten through the basic all-weather tape wrapping for the wiring harness, and it actually, worn through a couple of wires. One wire was broken all the way through, and a second wire was almost all the way broken through. So I'm like, okay, 2 wires are damaged, 1 is for sure broken. Maybe that's the problem. All right, but now I have only 1 headlamp functioning and no guarantee that I'll get the second headlamp functioning, which means I am no longer DOT compliant. It's easy to get if I keep driving. It's getting dark. I spent half an hour trying to troubleshoot it. Like, I'm safely parked, I'm secure, let's just ride it out, and I'll get empty in the morning, and then I'll go from there to a truck stop or get reloaded, one of the two, and then get it fixed. It'll be fine. So I go on down the next morning. This morning I get up, head down to my delivery in southern Kentucky, get unloaded, then I flip down to the Nashville area to get reloaded. Well, no, I'm southwest of Nashville. I'm off of 40 to get reloaded. I get reloaded, and there's a truck stop right nearby where I got loaded up. Okay, boom, book it right over there. They got a shop on site. It's a Love's. So got in there, got parked, walk around to the shop's office, check in, said, yeah, pull it on in. We got it. You're in luck. We have an opening because everyone else has that on tire jobs. I'm the mechanic on duty. There's no mechanic job ahead of you. Just drop your trailer, get it in the bay. We'll sort it out. We'll take a look and see what we can do. Okay, good. Drop the trailer in the parking spot. Make sure it's safe, of course, by putting an airline lockout on it, just in case. Pull the truck into the bay. Open the hood. I show him what the situation is. And he says, all right, yeah. He starts cutting off the all-weather tape to look at it. He's like, oh, yeah, okay, I see what the issue is here. This wire's broken, that wire's damaged. Okay. Well, pretty straightforward job. Hey, you want to go get something to eat? I'll be 45 minutes tops. No problem. But he says, by the time you get back here, I told him, yeah, I'm going to grab something to eat from the restaurant, take a shower, all this stuff. He's like, yeah, by the time you get back here, I'll be done. All right. This guy's as good as his word. I came back like 45 minutes later, maybe, and my truck was sitting in the bay, hood was closed, lashed, ready to go. And he says, yeah, job's done. I opened the hood, looked at it, and says, yeah, did a good job, because he really had done a good job, because he had put that extra rubber tubing, that hose section, over the wiring harness itself to make sure it was going to be even more secure and more safe against rubbing it along the truck frame. I put a little piece of foam on some tape, against the frame itself, but what this guy did was a heck of a lot better. And so I said, yeah, you did great work, thank you so much. And then checked me out. We tested the lights, left and right headlights, good. Left and right high beams, good. All right, so now I've got headlights back, I've got my high beams, I'm good to go, fantastic. So, cash out, go back to my trailer, reconnect, and I figure, okay, you know what? I gotta be in Chicago area tomorrow around 2. Easy 8-hour drive. I'll get up at dark 30. It'll be fine. I'll just book it in the morning. Let's just stay shut down. I'm already parked. I'm safe. I'm secure. Why screw with it? Because I've already got a good parking spot. Headlamps are fixed. Let's just get up and turn and burn. Fantastic. So that problem is now solved, which saves me a lot of headache because first of all, I was able to tell the tech, okay, this is where I think the problem is, but no matter what, this has got to get fixed anyway, because around this time last year in Arkansas, I noticed that my right side hood marker light was out. And I'm like, that ain't right. So I'm looking at it, and I trace the wiring harness back to the master connector, and I see that a wire coming off of that had corroded and was basically broken. Well, perhaps that could be the problem. Bring it to the Love's. Get a lot of my work done at Love's. They said, yeah, we'll just, cut it, clip it, clean it up, we'll put a splice on it, good to go. 45 minutes later, again, everything was fine. Okay, cool. Good deal. So, I'm beginning to learn that these wiring harnesses can be a bit of a tricky situation, because if you drive a Kenworth T680, at least you should know, ideally, that you've got in the center, well, a little bit to the left of center, under the radiator by the frame, there is the wiring harness that comes out, and then it mates up with a connector that then feeds the entire hood, because the hood itself drops on over the engine, for those of you who don't know, and then it latches right in front of the passenger and driver doors, right over the wheel hubs, or the wheel wells more accurately. And because it's a piece that can be taken off at a hinge at the bottom front, there's no way for it to have wiring at the back of the hood where it would be maybe on a car that has, accent lights or whatever else on top of it, or trucks that have hood electronics or whatever else in them. It's just not a thing that these trucks have at a more convenient spot, because in order for these engines to be serviced, you need to expose the entire engine, and the only way to do that is to lift the entire hood off, and the best way to do that is to flip it forward Now, that's also a safety thing, because if for whatever reason, if you don't latch your hood for what, you were messing around doing your pre-trip, as I relight my free side light here, TV monitor. Anyway, if you forget to latch the hood after you're doing your pre-trip, or you were checking the oil, or putting more coolant in, or whatever the case may have been, if you leave your hood unlatched, though you should not, obviously, it is so heavy that unless something goes completely sideways, it's not going to go flying forward off of its resting position, its closed position, unless you really stop hard or you hit something, which in that case you've already got bigger problems than just an unlatched hood if you got to stop that hard. But it's so heavy that unless you do hit something hard enough, it's probably not going to come flying off anyway, because again, you've got wind resistance pressing down on it with aerial downforce to keep it in position, and then it's at least a couple of 100 pounds, if not more. Well, maybe not. I don't know. So there's some. It's hefty, so it's not going to move on its own accord. So, but that wiring harness, there's a bit of play. There's some slack in there, because it's got to be able to move when the hood opens and closes. And I didn't realize that it had been gotten a little bit loose and was abrading against the front of my truck until it was literally too late and I started having an issue. So if I'd have been a little more attentive with my pre-trip inspections or my wiring harness inspections, just to make sure I was keeping up with my truck's condition, I might have caught that issue before it became an issue, instead of having to deal with a repair that, if I'd been more on the ball, I would not have had to have dealt with in the first place. But you live and you learn, and this is one way I learned. And thankfully, because of the great work this Love's technician, this Love's mechanic, more accurately, performed on the truck, now it's going to be very unlikely that I'll ever have another issue of this sort again, in theory, before I trade this truck in for my next one. So, yeah. And I'll still get home a day later than initially planned or intended, but at the same time, oh well, I'm not spending a bunch of money I don't have to on a headlamp unit replacement that I didn't need in the first place, because I actually went through the process and checked out and looked for other issues before I just assigned the blame to one component, when that component, this time at least, was not at fault. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Hope you made it through all the way to the video. If you did, again, thank you very much, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, night, wherever and whenever you are at, and I will see you down the road.